There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned in to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. Today, supernatural news, Parashare, Paranormal Playground Edition. Tim and I are going to review eerie tales of terrifying locations and encounters with the paranormal from around the world. We've got stories of a sad and supernatural playground haunted by the spirits of lost souls, a haunted hospital interaction, the ghost boy of Columbia River, a plantation poltergeist, and a ghost that exposes itself in an unusual way. Plus, your stories of real supernatural experiences. That's today right here on Darkness Radio. Before we begin, Tim, I want to address, I know that we had advertised last week we were going to do the live show on Thursday. Mm-hmm. We did not do the live show, and I just posted there was a family issue. I've had a lot of people email me and message me on social media wanting to make sure everything's okay. My son is fiercely private in his life, and that's why I have not posted anything about this. But the reason we did it was I'm a grandfather again to two beautiful little children that were born last week, which is all great news. They were about a month premature, and the little boy has just been struggling, which is normal, especially in premature boys with breathing issues. So it was just shuffling things around last week to make sure that I could help take care of my other two grandchildren while my son and daughter-in-law were in the hospital taking care of their newborns. I did put out a call for Reiki healers without getting into specifics. And the ones that wrote to me, I gave them a little bit more information and sent it on. My grandson is getting stronger by the day. He's got, some traditional issues that he'll face going forward with preemies. But, science is elevated to such an incredible way that we're hoping that all is going to be well here in the long run. So thank you for all of your love and concern. For those of you that put out the Reiki and energy and positivity, we appreciate that. For the time being, please don't address this in public on any of the social media, as I am just kind of keeping this between our Darkness Radio family and those of you listening to the show. So let's just keep it off of regular social media. But thank you very much for the love and support. And I will be happy to announce when everybody is home from the hospital and healthy and happy and make a little bit of a more formal announcement. But I wanted to catch people up. We do have a show tomorrow night, a brand new live program. And this is kind of following up on the last two live shows that we've done and taking it a little bit to a different place. And I'm really excited about this opportunity. Tim, we're going to be joined by a Stanford University professor and physician, Dr. Greg Hammer, on our live video stream tomorrow. We're going to discuss the importance of setting positive intentions to navigate your own journey into health and healing. This isn't coming from some tree huggery, hippy dippy, holistic healer. And I don't say that to be dismissive to those, but I know a lot of the listeners feel that way. We're going to be talking to a Stanford University professor and physician about the importance of and mindfulness of setting intentions and manifestation and how it can affect and impact our brain, our lives, and our health. And I'm sure that in that, we're going to find some new ways to improve ourselves and maybe even our own connection to the mystic realm and the spiritual side of life. So that's what we've got planned for tomorrow. It's going to be fascinating. I love when we can kind of take a topic and re-examine it with even more science-based knowledge behind this. So we'll be discussing that tomorrow live on the show. It is 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can find it on our social media pages and on our Darkness Radio YouTube page. So make sure you go subscribe and click the little bell is posted up on the YouTube page. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, we do our live shows on Thursday nights from time to time. We'll take that audio and make it available as part of the podcast format so you can hear the audio the next day. But if you like to watch along and see me interact with the guests, you can watch the live video streams, and then they live in our archives there on YouTube so that you can go back and watch them and scroll back and check out other episodes that we've done as well. Plus, there's some other great individual content that will be a part of it. We're going to be out at Michigan Paracon next week. Tim and I will both be out there. I'll also be joined by the cast of the Holzer Files, Cindy Kaza and Shane Pittman. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Michigan Paracon, miparacon.com is the website. I think there's still a handful of tickets that remain if you're interested in attending the event. It is one of the biggest, best of the paranormal conferences every year. This is their, I think, 11th year of doing the conference. We all had the year off last year due to COVID, but they're back this year. And the hotels have been updated. People are going to be cautious. And I've mentioned, I do want to put this out there. I've mentioned that at the events, we'll be giving out hugs and hanging out. We're going to be there. I'll be wearing a mask. I'll be, sliming myself constantly with antibacterial lotions and such. And we'll probably keep the hugs down to a minimum on this just to make sure everybody stays safe and healthy and we can have a good time and continue to be able to do events like this. So I just want you to bear that in mind. But come on out, hang out, see us, and the cool stuff that we're going to have with us as well. Tomorrow on the show, one of our favorite guests, Chad Lewis, is back with us. Lumberjack creatures of the North Woods. That's the topic. We'll be talking about everything from the poisonous hoop snake to the snow snake to the monstrous hodag and more. Folklore, tall tales, and fantastical yarns surrounding 20 of the most unbelievable animals said to inhabit the big woods. And we'll hear about where some of these stories started and what they've blown up into. What are the real encounters as opposed to fantasies and fables that have been woven to protect areas and keep people safe? We'll find out about that with Chad Lewis tomorrow on Darkness Radio. Today, we've got a lot of supernatural news to talk about. We've got some of your stories that you've sent in, questions you've sent in. And again, if you'd like to call and be a part of the show, you can do it through our Beyond voicemail. All you have to do is call 651-300-4977. That's 651-300-4977. Be a part of our Voices from Beyond voicemail, where you can call in. You have up to 3 minutes to tell us your strange encounter. It can be a happy, sad, scary, funny encounter with the supernatural, ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens, angels, demons, Ouija board stories, maybe even the fairy folk encounters. We want to hear from you, so make sure that you check that out. Hi, Dave and Tim. Thanks for letting me send you an email. I've been trying to figure out what happened at my apartment a few months ago. And the best I've found is that someone has been summoning on a ley line. For background, my apartment is small. I was in the kitchen cooking, and my wife was on the couch. I heard a noise that sounded like a crack, followed by what sounded like an inhalation. And then there was a large flash of light. It was very loud, very bright. I asked my wife if she did something, and she asked me if I had done something. I thought it might have been a light bulb exploding, but there were no lights where that happened. And I checked all the lights in the area. They all worked. Nothing odd has happened since, and I don't think either of us are being affected in any way. I'm just curious if you've heard of this phenomena or if anyone you know has. I'm not scared or anything like that, but I'm at a loss. Thanks, and I can't wait to see more of the Holzer Files. That comes from Adam. That's a weird experience. Now, there are known natural phenomena of energy discharges, ball lightning, plasma, but we've also heard in the supernatural realm sometimes just before or after, and we've caught visions of this on night vision cameras and in audio recorders, sometimes before communication or contact, we'll hear this kind of crackle and a pop, almost like a field is opening for the communication to come through. So maybe there's something along those lines, that it was there and it tried to manifest, or the portal was only open briefly. But I find it interesting that you wonder if somebody has been summoning something on a ley line, and maybe that ley line runs through your apartment. That's a new concept I've not thought of before. Tim, is that something you've ever thought of? Well,
ley lines, they fascinate me. Yeah, I have thought of it before. It is something that's crossed my mind about using ley lines for communication, or better yet, even in EVP work. Trying to use a ley line in EVP work, because we've used white noise before in EVP work. We've used different things to try to accentuate our EVP work, but ley lines was something too that I've thought about in the past of using that to accentuate EVP work.
It's interesting too, though, that, what the concept is, somebody that's along that same ley line opening up portal, would it travel like a telephone line? Would that energy travel and maybe crackle and pop in a few other locations as somebody might be doing a summoning ritual? Well, that's really an intriguing concept to me.
I'm just thinking along the lines of RF energy and how much shielding your recorder can actually take. You've got that shielding in the recorder, and you've used on Holzer files the granddaddy of them all as far as the Panasonic goes, which has very little shielding in it, or what Panasonic is referred to as defective shielding. There are other recorders that are out there that are newer that have what's supposed to be superior shielding, and then in your cell phones, or even like in an Apple phone, are supposed to have superior filters in it. But I'm wondering, with ley lines, which supposedly have, more of a boost, if that RF energy that is there is superior, and if spirits can use that RF energy, that boost in energy to communicate, if that signal comes through even clearer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would be interesting to play with. I'd be fascinated to hear if anything else happens to you. But maybe if you are aware, Adam, of ley lines in your area, follow that ley line. Does it happen to lay over a couple of other haunted locations or well-known hotspots for supernatural? Were there any UFO sightings that day in and around your area? I'd love to hear if there's anything else you could uncover that might help us shed a little bit of light on this. But that's a fascinating topic. Thank you very much for writing into us. Dave and Tim, when I was young, I lived in a typical suburban outlet. Our next door neighbors were a family of 5, and my parents were friendly with them. Their children were older and didn't run with the pack, but often served as babysitters for the younger crowd. Their son, Will, and I shared a fascination for the TV show Emergency, and both of us wanted to be paramedics. He joined the fire department and advocated for me with my parents for me when I wanted to join the volunteer program at age 16. Reluctantly, they agreed, and Will took me under his wing, helping me through the training. 2 years later, I was well established and enjoying the experience of volunteering in the fire department. It gave me confidence, and I felt like I was doing something worthwhile. One Sunday, we were waiting for my grandparents to go out to lunch, and I noticed one of the engines from Will's station parked next door. There were people milling around in the yard, and Will's mother was sitting in the front yard, obviously distressed. I called my father, and we decided to see if we could help. When we walked over, we were told Will was missing. He was on a scuba diving lesson and was lost. The search went on for days, turning from rescue now to recovery. We went through our days numbly trying to help with searches, making sure Will's family was cared for, and doing our daily activities as normal as possible. Then one night, as I was sitting in the kitchen of the fire station where I volunteered, trying to read, I heard the door to the outside open, but I didn't look up, figuring it was just one of the guys coming in. Instead, I heard Will say, "Little sister," and I looked up to see him standing in front of me, solid, smiling, but soaking wet. Before I could get up, he said, "Tell them I'm in the marsh on Taylor Island. I'm okay now, and I love you." And with that, he was gone. I jumped up, but he was gone. I was reluctant to tell the guys in case they thought I was nuts, but I told my dad and brother. Since they were going out to search, Dad casually suggested to search coordinator that the island be searched. And that's where they found Will, exactly where he said he would be. It was later determined that he died due to faulty equipment, and the instructors were charged in his death. And that story comes to us from Lynn. Well, Lynn, we're very sorry for your loss, but what an amazing mentor to have, and what a remarkable paranormal story to share, to have this friend, this big brother character to you, show up and tell you where he is, and you find him there. That is astounding. What a remarkable story. Thank you so much for being open with us and sharing that tale. Wow, that's heart-wrenching right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, gentlemen, and greetings from this small barony to yours. I just had an interesting experience, and I instantly thought of you two. Sure, I could go through the process, apply logic, and see what it is, but what good Baron sullies his hand with the arcane? No, it wasn't about cousins living inside of a plexiglass box for the 2021 season, but the underwind total, if you can, lads. I don't know what that means. I'm curious what you would do about spirits attached to other individuals who are in a shared space. I recently had a new housemate move in, and while I appreciate her harmony and resonance with whatever goddess she believes in, I'm starting to see attached spirits randomly appearing. While I understand this is certainly more than likely a coincidence, large light flashing and then there's no light sound, things falling over and so on, I'm concerned about this growing into a larger issue later. She's a good soul, crystals, meditation, living in harmony, and I am not. I'm offspring of Satanists and witches, followers of pagan gods, and I'm a meat eater. So I can see where this might be a rather contentious issue in the world and the beyond. Any thoughts on how at least to respect the boundaries of these new attachments without having to divide the home up physically and spiritually? Thanks for all the years of entertainment, and even if you can't answer, I appreciate you taking the time to read this missive. Now, if you will excuse me, I must have my steward rouse the witches and see what they can divine for me in the chicken feathers. And that comes from Matthew. Good stuff, Matthew. Thank you for that email. I guess it's in divining your own line of power, and it doesn't mean you have to be rude or unkind to your housemate, but by just speaking out to the spirits and telling them that, your space is your space, and, asking whoever you believe in, whatever energy you believe in, to keep you separated by placing the thorny hedge of protection around you, or white light or golden light or indigo, whatever is your color that makes you feel safe. A lot of times, whatever that color is that you feel, if you can imagine it around you, kind of pushing out, it's an intention setting experiment that might help you in keeping and rebuking these spirits from attaching to you. If they're with her, maybe speak with her kindly, but just say, I don't know if you realize that there's definitely things amping up in our home, and I think it has to do with the work that you're doing. So I don't know if it's something you know how to ground, or maybe learn how to shut down a little better. But, again, say it politely with kindness and love, as opposed to threatening and pointing fingers as though there's blame to be laid. And maybe that will inspire her to find another way to close down some of her interactions with the spiritual realm so that they're not as impactful in your own life. But that's where I would start, Matthew.
Now, is Matthew on the side of the witches and Satanists, or is he on the side of the...
I don't know. Yeah, I read what he sent to us. It's hard to tell.
It sounded like he was on the side of the... When you were reading there, it sounded like he was maybe not on the side of the crystals and metaphysicals like she was, and he was on the side of the witches and Satanists. I don't know. There's a saying here that comes to mind of do what thou wilt. But at the same time, you said you couldn't divide the house in half, right? So here's the only suggestion that comes to mind, and I don't want to throw a bunker building mentality here, but I mean, there has to be some amount of communication, like Dave said, where you come in and you say, hey, I'm seeing things that you may not be seeing, and there's some attachments that are building here, but at the same time, you also have to protect yourself, right? So I would think that you also have to also, whatever your belief is, you also, like Dave said, you have to ground yourself, but at the same time, you also have to find your protections and protect your area being your living or sleeping space or your area of the apartment. So you've got to have a space or a space in there that is yours, that is sacred, that you can feel safe in. Otherwise, you don't feel protected isn't the word here, Dave, but you would go nuts, right?
Oh, right. I mean, if you have to have a place and set good boundaries in order to kind of protect yourself from the energies around you. Right. I don't. It just be careful, but like I said, be kind wherever your belief system may lie.
And here's what I'm thinking, and this is, for example, if you believe crystals or saging or whatever would do it, I guess, or salt. Maybe you salt the barrier of your room, or you lay crystals in the barrier of your room so that attachment can't come forward into your room. Whatever it is you believe, you draw that barrier in your room, or, imagining that light in your room to keep that attachment from coming into your room. You've got to have one area of that apartment that you keep sacrosanct, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's just, from his writing, I don't think he's much into the crystals and salting protection. But find what works for you. That's why I said sometimes just setting the intention or speaking out loud or speaking to your roommate about her way of dealing with it might help out in the long run.
Right, yeah.
We do have some bad news to report, unfortunately, this week as we dive into our first supernatural news story. Longtime UFO researcher and former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer has passed away. Former Canadian Minister of National Defense, the Honorable Paul Hellyer, has passed away. Hellyer was a member of the Canadian Parliament for several years and served in various government roles for almost 40 years. He served as Defense Minister from 1963 all the way to 1967. He became well known in the UFO research community in 2005 when he told an audience at the Toronto Symposium on UFO Disclosure and Planetary Directions at the University of Toronto's Convocation Hall, "UFOs are as real as the airplanes that fly over your head. That is my unequivocal conclusion." UFO disclosure expert Victor Vigani made the announcement on his website, writing, "The Honorable Paul T. Hellyer, PC, passed away peacefully last evening, August 8th, in his home." Oh boy, this happened about a week ago, so I apologize. We're just getting to this now. He passed away at 6:31 p.m. in Toronto, Canada. Hellyer's grandson, Josh Hellyer, also shared a message of his grandfather's passing on Twitter, writing, "Very sad to share that my grandfather, Paul Hellyer, died yesterday, August 8th, 2021, at the age of 98. He was a great, giant personality and a huge presence in our lives. He lived long and an interesting life and will be deeply missed. Rest in peace, Grandpa." Vigani writes that as Minister of Defense, Hellyer oversaw the drastic and controversial integration and unification of the Royal Canadian Navy, Canadian Army, and Royal Canadian Air Force into a single organization, the Canadian Forces. So Paul Hellyer has passed. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. But man, he has been an integral force in keeping the conversation of UFOs alive for many years. So we're glad that he was able to do that and bring some legitimacy to the investigation and research into UFOs.
Most definitely, yeah.
All right, our next tale is a spine-chillingly haunted playground just 2 hours away from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Think Ghostbusters, but a little bit more low-key. Legit traveling around looking for evidence of paranormal activity. The friend of the author, Mary Kay, is really into the paranormal and even has a collection of gadgets to help detect spirits and whatnot. But I never asked, what exactly are the whatnots? The other day, her friend called saying she was going about her last ghost hunt. It was some spooky stuff, but I'm entertained, so I let her rattle away. She is always trying to rope me into going, but I'm just too scared and I can't run too fast anymore, according to Mary Kay, the author of this article. In the interest of conversation, we did a quick Google search about paranormal activity. We found Dead Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama. It's 2 hours away from Tuscaloosa. That's not a real popular name for a park, Tim.
No.
Yeah. This interesting playground is behind the Maple Hill Cemetery in Huntsville, Alabama. But you have to know where to find the playground because it's hidden. It's called Drost Park, but the locals call it Dead Children's Playground. Digging deeper about the playground, they uncovered 3 different haunted stories. These tales include that of spirits of children buried at Maple Hill Cemetery that seem to come out to play at night. According to Alabama Haunted Houses, swings have been seen moving by themselves, shouting and laughter have been heard, and some have even seen the ghosts of children playing late at night. Pictures taken in the area have also been known to turn up ghostly figures. Another theory is that Rocket City Mom talked about that was in 1918. The Spanish flu killed at least 50 million people worldwide, with over 400 succumbing in Madison County alone. Many were children and rumored to be buried at Maple Hill. Locals say that those children appear to be coming out to play at night. A dark secret from the 40s is what Buzz Nicked feels is legendary. Local legend has it that a serial killer murderer led a reign of terror in the town in the 1940s. He would dump bodies in the field. Also, trails lead away from the field and into old mining shafts that the killer is said to have lived in. Now, road trippers discussed a legend about several children who were abducted and found murdered near the playground in what was referred to as a satanic ritual during the 1960s. Of course, there's no evidence that this actually happened to be found anywhere, but you can check it out for yourself. The reviews say it's quite beautiful, but once it gets dark, it's another story. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Haunted, ghost children and me. That's my most uncomfortable conversation. I don't like the concept of it. I've tried to placate myself with the thought that the spirits, the physical form may have been young, but the spirit may be hundreds of years old and having reincarnated numerous times, and that these aren't actually children. But would you go to a haunted playground at night where they've been seen running around and playing on the swings, or would that be too unnerving for you?
I would go, but I tend to mistrust ghost children. That's the one thing I do mistrust. I guess I've always had the image in my head that, and I guess call this, I know there's some areas of our audience that are a little uncomfortable with the religious thing, but I've always had the opinion that Jesus takes care of children, and that the soul of a child would never be lost like that. And that if there is a soul of a child that's earthbound, that it would either have to be a tragedy that was beyond, that child was beyond savable, or it would really have to be a will of a child that was so strong that it was looking for its parent that would keep it here. Or again, I just think that there's something more nefarious that keeps the soul of a child here, if it is a true child, or it's something nefarious taking the image of a child. I really don't think there are very many true children that are in ghost form that are earthbound. Right.
Very strange. It's, I don't know. Yeah, getting into the children ghosts, like I said, I want to believe that it's old spirits, but they're just choosing to take that guise. But there is still, like you said, that dark underpinning of, is it something else? Something more tragic. Speaking of, haunted hospital is to welcome guests in Bonham, Texas, that is. A Bonham couple is converting a former hospital building into a bed and breakfast. The 5 bedrooms in the 106-year-old structure at 921 North Center Street will be a place to get away for those seeking paranormal thrills. Texas Representative Sam Rayburn was the longest-serving Speaker of the House in U.S. history. He started his career in Bonham and died at 1961 at the small Risser Hospital in that city. They knew he was going to pass away. He wanted to come here to Bonham, where he grew up. And this is home here, said Donnie Kirk, who, along with his wife, Charlotte Kirk, owners of the Cardinal Crossing Inn. This was an 18-bed hospital at one time. Dr. Risser owned it, and he had his clinic right next door. The hospital beds are now gone, but Charlotte suspects that some of the patients have stayed behind. A lot of people who have worked here have experienced paranormal activity, she said. Charlotte said she was with her husband when she became a believer. I was standing at the foot of the stairs, and I said, Donnie, I saw it. And I thought he walked into the dining room where we were sitting, Kirk said. She saw me walking in there, and I was actually in the other room, Donnie Kirk said. The figure Charlotte claims to have seen is one of many strange guest reports. If there are spirits here, they have to be happy, she said. It was a disaster place before, and now they have a pleasant place to reside. The Cardinal Crossing Inn will the subject of a national television series, but we're not authorized to identify which one, they said. It's going to be on the second season of his show, Donnie Kirk said. They say that when it airs, we will probably be booked up for the next 2 to 3 years. The Bonham Bed and Breakfast is set to open on Labor Day weekend. Charlotte will cook breakfast on Saturday and Sunday for guests, and Donnie will help out on the weekdays, in case you were curious what their work allotment is, Tim.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
That was. Yeah.
So interesting, staying in an old hospital. It's like the St. Nicholas up in Cripple Creek, Colorado, was a former hospital that had an operation wing and psychiatric wing and things, but it's an old big house. And we've stayed there a couple of occasions, and it's really a cool place with some bizarre activity that takes place there. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. Maybe we'll have to talk to them and hear about some of their experiences. Well, Tim, I'm sorry, but your dreams of owning a famous Ireland spooky home.
Yep,
they've diminished, because one of Ireland's spookiest houses, a vast mansion with 97 windows that is said to have once hosted the devil, has been sold. Loftus Hall in Hethard-on-Sea, Co-Wexford, sits on 63 acres with direct access to the beach. It has 22 bedrooms and has played host to a number of film crews attracted by its spooky setting and legendary ghost stories. Having been on the market for a year, Loftus Hall has now been sold to an unnamed buyer. The devil remains in the detail as to what the buyer plans or what they paid for the house that occupies a prominent position near Hook Lighthouse. Owner Aidan Quigley, who bought the house in 2011 for £625,000 when it was almost derelict, said he enjoyed his decade as a custodian working to restore the property. An estimated £1.5 million was spent on the restoration of Loftus Hall. We can confirm that Loftus Hall is sold. This is my last day in the hall. I have to reflect on 10 very happy years here, Mr. Quigley said. He paid tribute to his staff and thanked everyone who supported his business over the years. Trading on its haunted reputation, the house operated as an after-dark tourist attraction with ghostly goings-on for a number of years, proving a big attraction to paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. The house's history dates back to when the Normans landed back in 1170, when a castle was built in the area. In 1350, the first hall was built, known as Redmond Hall, and then in 1666, it was passed from the Redmond family to the Loftus family, and they remained the owners until the early 20th century. The hall's haunted reputation dates back to 1766. Lord Tottenham, who had married Anne Loftus, lived there, and the ghostly tale concerns their daughter, also named Anne, and a visit by a dark stranger. Many versions of the tale have been recounted, but in essence, it talks of a dark and stormy night when a stranger came a-calling. And he said Tottenham's daughter, Lady Anne, spent hours playing cards together in the tapestry room. During the game, Anne is said to have bent down to retrieve a fallen card from the floor, only to spy that her guest had cloven hooves at the end of its long legs. She screamed, prompting the stranger to disappear through the ceiling in a puff of smoke. Lady Anne never recovered, and after her death, and rumors began locally that the house was haunted. Since then, it has retained its spooky reputation. The house originally went on the market at $2.5 million. It is not known if the new owners have an avid interest in the paranormal or if they will even keep it open to the public. We'll report more as we go. I was really hoping to visit Loftus Hall when I went there, and we had it on our itinerary, and at the last minute, they pulled the plug and said, no, we don't want guests. Then a day later, they're like, all right, we'll let you guys in. And no, we're not going to do it. They played this game 2 or 3 times. We just walked away. So I don't believe we ever got to really visit Loftus Hall. Kind of a disappointment.
I wonder why the back and forth.
I don't know. Dear Dave and Tim, hey, that's us.
Yeah.
I'm a little shook right now and uncertain of how to react to what just happened. On August 10th of this year, 2021, I was at work and managing to get through my day the same way I always do, by listening to hours of pro wrestling, true crime, and paranormal podcasts, when my phone notified me that the latest episode of True Crime Tuesday had been downloaded and was ready for enjoyment. Being from Missouri and having visited Hannibal on a couple of different occasions, I was excited to see that you were covering the case of the Lost Boys of Hannibal. I immediately paused the podcast I was listening to and switched over to your show. Oh, we like to hear that. To my surprise, it was not Dave Schrader's unmistakable dulcet tone playing through my earbuds. Instead, it was the voice of a man I had never heard before on a podcast I'd never heard of. I figured it was just a download error and decided to remove the show and re-download it. No big deal, right? Wrong. After re-downloading True Crime Tuesday, I pressed play and was greeted once again with the same voice from the mysterious podcast that had played before. This time I decided to let it play, thinking that maybe it was just a clip from the other podcast and that they were promoting their show through yours. After listening to a few minutes of this man tell his story, I was hooked and glad for this happy little accident, which allowed me to hear this man speak of an amazing event that had taken place in his life. I finished listening and once again downloaded True Crime Tuesday, this time with no problems. I just chalked it up to a case of crossed wires and didn't give it another thought. Until this morning, that is. Every Thursday, I start my workday with Dave and Tim telling me all of the latest happenings in the world of the paranormal and look forward to a few spooks and laughs along the way, but nothing prepared me for what I was about to hear. Instead of the normal theater of the mind segment was replaced by a man telling about his near-death experience. I literally got goosebumps as the man began to speak. It was the same man telling the same story about his brush with death that had played through the True Crime Tuesday feed just 2 days ago. This man's tale of how it took dying for him to realize what was important in life has hit me hard and really opened my eyes as to where to focus should be in my own life. Was it just coincidence, or was it the powers that be making sure that I heard this story? The world may never know. Anyway, just thought you might enjoy this little mysterious event, and in case you're wondering, after doing a quick search, I was able to find that episode that played through your feed, which was called What If You Died, from the podcast This Is Actually Happening. Hope you all have a great day, and thank you so much for everything you do. Sincerely, Shook, Jeff. Well, that is weird.
That's very weird, yeah.
Had you heard anything else about that?
No, nobody else has reported anything like that, no.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. Well, with that said, before we go to break, Tim, nobody's reported that, but they have reported other issues with the stream. And just, if you could just help people out real quickly, because some of them don't read what you've posted about it. If they start having issues with lagging, jagging, or issues with the Stitcher stream, what should they do? What are some of your recommendations to fix it?
Okay, so people who are using the Stitcher app are reporting that the show is like pausing or stopping in the middle, and then they're having a hard time going forward with the show. So here's essentially what the Stitcher folks are telling me and what you need to do. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's not working. That's not true. Here's what you need to do. So you need to, one, make sure your Stitcher app is updated. Stitcher is in the middle of updating and re-updating their app, and sometimes they do it as much as 3 times a month. Okay? So make sure you have the latest update of the Stitcher app. Second, you want to do a hard reset of your device that you're listening to, whether it be your tablet, your phone, whatever you're listening to the Stitcher app on. Not just resetting your device, not just, shutting it off, turning it back on, or, just do a hard reset. So look up how you hard reset your device. That will then, and I forgot the second part of it, which is to close the Stitcher app completely. Now, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I closed down the app. Close it completely. Like I don't know how you do it on an Android, but on an Apple device, it's going to the actual, you go to the screen where all the apps are lined up, and then swipe up to close the app completely. Then doing a hard reset, which is making sure that again, on an Apple device, it's where you do down the up volume, down volume, and then holding down the power button until you get the Apple sign. That's how you do it on an Apple. I don't know how you do it on an Android, but again, that's how you do it. But a hard reset. So again, update the app, close the Stitcher app completely, do a hard reset of your device. When you do those 3 steps, you shouldn't have a problem anymore with the Stitcher app. Okay. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, I've done that and that doesn't work. It does work. It brings everything back to the way it should be. If you have the latest version of the Stitcher app and you've done those 3 steps, you shouldn't have any problems anymore with any of the shows. So there you go.
So give it a try. Where do they email if they have problems that don't seem to be getting answered, though, Tim?
Okay, there's two ways to do this. Now, you either go to Stitcher.com, hit the help little section. You go to the bottom of the page on Stitcher.com. It'll say help. You just click on the help word, and a form comes up. And you can, and again, I know people go, "Oh, a form, they'll never get back to me." The Stitcher folks are really good and really interactive with those forms, and they get right back to you. And you'd be surprised how fast they get back to you, and want to know what your issue is with their app, and they'll walk you through it and make sure that they get on that and get your issue solved. That's the first way to do it. The second one is to email support@stitcher.com, and they'll be able to get to you that way. They'll answer your email right away, and they'll get back to you and help you with your individual issue with your Stitcher app. A lot of times, it's just walking you right through it, and you're done within about 5 minutes, and you've figured out what's actually going on with that. Now, a lot of people have said, you know what, I got rid of the app and then I re-downloaded it. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times when you get rid of the app and re-download it, you have the same issue. And people go, well, it didn't go away. Well, no, because you retained the same memory of the issue you had previously.
Right. It's like you didn't clear the original cookies.
Right. You didn't clear the cookies.
So it's pulling it back up and giving you memory of what was there already.
Right. So you really do need to kind of clear things the way I just kind of told you. You need to do everything from closing the app to the hard reset to, everything. Just, clear it all. Again, it's making sure you have the latest update of the app. You make sure you close the app completely and make sure you do a hard reset of your device. Those three things should get you through and get those things playing. And you should be good to go. Those are the steps to get you up and running. A lot of people too will say, well, I didn't get the latest version of the show, or you haven't uploaded the latest show. That happens too when you have a lag in communication between the app and the server. So
it even happens with me, folks. So don't think that you're a wackadoodle or problems. I'll hit up Tim once in a while and be like, hey, why didn't the show post? And he'll send me a screenshot from his iPhone, but my Droid doesn't have it yet. And I'll just refresh, or I shut my phone all the way down, give it a minute or two, repower it up, and everything kind of refreshes, and there it is.
Yep.
So sometimes it's just that simple. And if you do run into issues where you're using the Darkness Radio app and you pull it up and there's no shows, sometimes you just need to refresh that a few times, or go make sure that you've got the most current updated version of the app. We only update it every couple of months, but there may have been a new change. So that's usually what takes place when you listen to the shows. For those of you that might not know, we've been playing episodes of True Crime Tuesday now on Tuesdays here on Darkness Radio. There are the truncated versions. It's the full interview, but you don't get to hear the dumb crime, stupid criminals. That's being held for the premium content, which is part of the subscription base. So again, if you want to hear Darkness Radio and True Crime Tuesday completely commercial free, it's $5 a month. And gives you Stitcher Premium. But not only do you get our programs, you get all the other programs that are part of Stitcher Premium, hundreds of thousands of hours of other great programming, spanning every type of possible genre you could ever want. For $5, you can't go wrong. It's an amazing opportunity to get it all commercial free. Or if you don't mind the commercials, you can continue to listen to us this way, old-fashioned way, which is great as well. We need to take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more to discuss right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the program. This is Darkness Radio. Tomorrow, lumberjack creatures of the Northwoods. Chad Lewis, our guest on the program. And I don't have a theater of the mind this week. I'm sorry, folks, with family issues, health issues, traveling, and all the things that have been going on and all the things I'm gearing up to go do. I just haven't had time to get together with Tim and record some more Theater of the Minds. We're also getting limited. Not many of you are sending in fully fleshed out stories. We're getting a couple of great paragraphs, but not stories. And unfortunately, some of you that sent me your stories sent me like a 10-page, no paragraph break. email, and that means it's like probably 30 pages of reading, which is a good hour and a half. So I need you to truncate them. If you could pare them down to two and a half, maybe 3 at the most pages that are broken up into cohesive paragraphs that make it easier to read, I can read them. So I'm just asking if you can go back and re-edit. I don't want to chop your story if I don't have to. I'd rather you do it and then send it back to me in a more recognizable or shorter format. I'd appreciate that. But Lumberjack Creatures of the North Woods with Chad Lewis tomorrow. But I do have a story from Chad that he shared with us a few years ago. Let's go ahead and we'll play his story right now. All right, we're here with Chad Lewis. He's an author. He's one of our favorite guests and always has great stories to tell. We were out and I heard the story of the vampire of Mineral Point. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Sure. It all began in the 1980s. It was late at night. A police officer by the name of John Pepper was patrolling. He passed by a cemetery called Graceland Cemetery when something caught his eye, something that shouldn't be there, something that he couldn't believe was there. Because when he looked into the cemetery, he saw what he reported to be a very tall, very pale, very thin, very ugly vampire. He gave chase to this vampire where he said it easily flew over a fence and disappeared into the night. And he didn't want to report it. He knew how it sounded, a vampire in Wisconsin. But he was on duty, so he made the report. And the very next day, media from all over the world descended upon Mineral Point looking for the Mineral Point vampire. It got to be so much that that police officer quit that police force and moved away and refused to ever talk about it. But when word got out that there was a vampire in Mineral Point, dozens of people started calling the police saying that vampires were jumping out of every dark corner in Mineral Point. And up to this very day, people still believe that if you venture out to Graceland Cemetery, you will see the vampire in Mineral Point. I've been out there both day and night. I haven't seen the vampire, probably because I keep my vampire hunting kit with me while I'm in the cemetery, but maybe he'll show up, or she or it will show up for you. So that's the vampire of Mineral Point.
Very cool. Again, more Chad Lewis tomorrow. Make sure you check that out. And for more stories like you just heard from Chad, we've got a bunch of those stories up on our Darkness Radio YouTube page where you can go scroll through. And every time I go out to these conferences, I try to get new stories from our celebrity friends and authors that are a part of these events. So keep checking and go to the Darkness Radio YouTube page, the official Darkness Radio YouTube page, and subscribe to it, like it, so that you're always alerted to the new programs, including tonight's brand new live program, The Manifestation. We're going to be talking about science, Tim. Science from a Stanford University professor and physician. Dr. Greg Hammer joins us tonight live to talk about the power of intention and manifestation and setting these intentions to improve your life from a scientific standpoint. I'm super psyched about tonight's show. I hope you'll tune in and check it out as well, because I think a lot of us need to hear what we're going to be sharing tonight on the program. It's live on our YouTube page and social media pages, so follow along, and we will be good to go. All right, Tim, let's jump back into it. We've got some more news stories to share. We've got some more emails to share as well. But going back into the world of the news, we've got a quick mention. Former Senator Harry Reid reveals how Skinwalker Ranch got the Pentagon interested in UFOs. And how do you know when a UFO docuseries is legit? That's a good question. Is it the graphics, the narration, the obscurity of the reports and encounters? Well, Showtime's UFO docuseries has two things going for it that elevate it far, far above the dime a dozen UFO specials that air on basic cable on Sunday afternoons. It's a J.J. Abrams production, for one thing. And the other thing, you know it's legit when an actual politician like Harry frickin' Reid pops up to talk about unidentified flying objects. Well, that's what happens in UFO. And a big chunk of episode 2 is dedicated to the former Nevada senator and former Senate Majority Leader's interest in studying paranormal phenomena. I iterate, this is wild. Usually these specials are populated with ufologists, small press authors, small town abductees, and people who become memes because of how they could, how could they not become a meme, I guess is what they're saying, like our buddy Giorgio Tsoukalos, right? I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. These specials do not usually include former United States senators, especially ones known for fighting the mob in Nevada and choking a dude for trying to bribe him during an FBI sting. Harry Reid does not mess around, especially when it comes to UFOs. Reed's interest in UFOs has been public knowledge for a while, but J.J. Abrams and company got him on camera talking about the government-funded, Pentagon-approved UFO investigation unit that he helped back in 2007. The agency, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, was tasked with investigating reports of unidentified flying objects and other paranormal phenomena. After a decade in the shadows, the existence of ATIP was revealed via the New York Times with Reed's involvement. Reed's like a real-life cigarette-smoking man from the X-Files, but he's not as camera shy. UFO goes even further, connecting former Senate Majority Leader Reed with another part of paranormal lore that's way more than just flying saucers. If you ever wanted to hear former Senator Reed say the word Skinwalker Ranch, then UFO is the series for you. If you've been paying attention to ufology via streamable content and cable shows over the past 2 years, then you've heard a lot about Skinwalker Ranch. The locale got its own history series, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which has been phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Located, of course, in Utah, the ranch has been a hotspot of UFO sightings, supernatural occurrences, and animal mutilations for generations and generations. The ranch is named after a malevolent, shape-shifting witch from Navajo culture. Reed sums up Skinwalker Ranch thusly: a lot of stuff on Skinwalker Ranch is very, very difficult to understand. There have been things reported up there for generations, and because all UFO mythology seems to be centered around this ranch, of course, the ranch played a major role in launching ATIP. As revealed in episode 2 of UFO, an unnamed government physicist wrote to real estate tycoon and wily true believer Robert Bigelow and asked him to visit the ranch. Bigelow gave Reed a call to see if this physicist was legit. Reed did a little background check. The physicist was cleared to visit the ranch, where within 15 minutes of his arrival, he had an experience, which the details are being withheld on. The sitting senator from Nevada then pulled that physicist into a meeting with Senator Daniel Inouye from Hawaii and Senator Ted Stevens from Alaska in the Capitol, and boom, ATIP was born. Reed describes this as one of the easiest sells I've ever had to make, because Senator Stevens actually saw a UFO when he was in the Army Air Corps. And when it came time to hand over $22 million to a guy to run the Pentagon's covert UFO task force, Reed looked at Bigelow, a self-made Republican billionaire who bought a ranch to study ghosts and witches and aliens, and was like, party, they found their guy. All of this is more shocking than anything claimed on Ancient Aliens. It's more shocking because all of it is true, as revealed in the New York Times article, and then spoken aloud by a retired political figure who very much has a legacy to protect. But what's great about Harry Reid is he actually brings a feeling of legitimacy to a field of study that has long been deemed kooky. As we now know, the government fully admits that a small percentage of these thousands of claims are still unexplainable. And y'all know the government loves coming up with explanations. Reid's thumbs up of studying identified aerial phenomena doesn't seem so weird now, does it? As Reid explains, I'm totally in favor of doing all the exploration we can beyond our world. We must remain curious intellectually. We need to do everything we can to try to figure things out. I know that people, when I got started in this, thought that I was going in an area I shouldn't have. What the hell is he doing on this? But as time goes on, even my wife, who wondered why I was so involved in unidentified flying objects, said to me just a few months ago, well, you're not looking so bad now, are you? I guess it's time for Harry Reid to get his own UFO show on the History Channel. But you could check out UFO on Showtime. This is, I have not yet seen any of the episodes, but this is one of the specials I definitely want to go check. I don't. Do you have Showtime, Tim?
You know what? Let me check. Yeah, I've got a couple different. I cut the cord on cable quite a while ago, and I've been streaming. And one of the packages I have, I don't want to say the name of it because I don't want to give them any pub because they don't give me a break on my stuff. But I have one of the better streaming packages. Let me see here. I'm going to look real quick.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to share another weird story, Tim.
I do not have Showtime. I have Stars. I have Stars and HBO.
If anybody's watched the special, please email me. Let me know. I would love to know more about it because I'd like to know if it's living up to the hype. It sounds great. I I want to watch it. I just don't know if I want to subscribe to Showtime to do it at this point. Because I think I'd rather wait until the new Dexter hits and then watch both the new Dexter and watch the UFO special. But I'm going to check that out for sure. All right, Tim, here's a story. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about getting your hands on my package on the show many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my package is glorious, folks. If you have not yet got your hands on it, you can still order them. It's $40. It's an autographed copy of my book. It's an autographed picture, and it's a Darkness Radio decal. It's a $50 value you get for $40 plus $5 shipping and handling. You could just email me, dave@darknessradio.com, to get your hands on my package. But a package of another kind has been sighted, Tim.
Oh, really?
A ghost hunting duo were shocked when they captured what they think might be a spirit's penis while on a bachelorette trip to New Orleans. The discovery was made in John Lafitte's Blacksmith Bar, an iconic ghost hunting venue in what is believed by many to be the U.S.'s most haunted city. The bar, without electricity and eerily candlelit, is named after John Lafitte, a local famous for acts of piracy in the early 1700s. However, when the ghost hunting duo glimpsed into the bar's fireplace for signs of treasure or a ghost, they were shocked at what they discovered. Speaking on their podcasts, Two Girls, One Ghost, Corinne said, "We did not catch a photo of anyone's face, but we did capture what appears to be a poltergeist's penis, Tim." Yeah. And I'm looking at the picture. It's so you see these two women facing each other. Mm-hmm. You see the brick fireplace behind them, and it looks like I'm going to stick with the scientific name for this, Tim, because that's the way we work on the show. It looks like a dick and balls coming off of the tip of one of the girls' noses. You see this phantom phallic figure jutting off of her nose. So I don't know. Is she lying to her friend and this is the Pinocchio experiment taking place? I can't tell you.
I love that movie, by the way, the Pinocchio experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
It looks like, Ghostbusters when they're bright green, but this is seriously blue. It's like a straight up uncircumcised penis, but it's the least scary ghost photo you could ever catch. The pair shared a photo of the so-called ghost genitalia on their Instagram, which sparked a wave of discussion. In the image, a faint white shape is seen poking out behind Sabrina's head in a vaguely phallic shape. There's nothing vaguely phallic about it. It looks like a dick and balls, scientifically speaking. Tim, fans of the show were quick to offer their thoughts on what it could be. Apparently unwanted nods carry on into the afterlife, too, one joked. Another laughed, "Oh, my God, it's coming right out of your nose." Although the sighting of the ghost penis is an unlikely event, the duo explained that sightings of John Lafitte are more frequent. Host Corinne said, "People see him all the time. This is your regular drinking spot. Chances are you're going to see John Lafitte or his dick and balls, Tim. And in fact, it appears the ghost might be a bit of a ladies' man." Corinne added, online reports do say that the women have a flirty pinch when in the restaurant, not filthy. Presumably John did that. Catching up on their podcast after their trip, Connie and Sabrina went over the history of John Lafitte's Blacksmith Bar. The records of John Lafitte's life aren't overly prevalent, they said. We don't know a ton of what happened, but apparently he likes to wiggle his wiener, ghost wiener, on pictures, Tim.
Well, you'd think he'd be a little more creative.
You'd think. Now, after retiring from fighting on the seas, the ghost hunting expert suggested that Lafitte and his brother operated out of the building that is now the bar named after him. Corinne suggested that Lafitte must have died back in the 1720s sometimes because he just kind of dropped off the map after that. Well, he's pointing his way on the map very clearly in this photograph. So I'm a little bit more worried about the fact that in the picture where there is not a ghost penis, they look extremely happy, having just realized that there was a ghost penis a few seconds ago projecting from one of her friend's noses. That to me is weird.
I don't know. If I'm John Lafitte, I'm figuring out other places other than the nose. Maybe in the hand. Yeah. You put it in the hand.
John Lapine, maybe.
Yeah.
Put it in the hand.
Yeah, put it in the hand.
Very strange.
It just you've got millennia to figure out how to be more creative.
You do. I don't know. I got nothing. Very strange. Hey, Dave and Tim, I'm Josh and a recent fan and just started listening 2 weeks ago, but I find myself becoming engrossed by podcasts lately and quickly looked you up after becoming addicted to listening to podcasts. I've enjoyed listening to the great stories so far. I loved watching you and the gang in Holzer Files and love that the show features a medium. I am an empath and I'm good at reading people and I've always been curious about the supernatural. I wanted to write to you both because I believe I just got done listening to one of your podcasts and wanted to share some stories from my life with you. I'm 39 years old and I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but moved away at 20 years old to Salem, Oregon, and still live there. I grew up in a very strict household, very religious, very Baptist, very Southern Baptist. I was sheltered as a kid, and needless to say, I wasn't allowed to watch Star Wars or play with Power Ranger toys or even watch the show because anything magic related or use of the Force, anything with spirits, demons, mystical powers, supernatural, or otherworldly was considered ungodly. So I would either watch TV with my dad, which was a mix of Perry Mason, Columbo, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, everything Alfred Hitchcock, and all the classic James Bond movies. I didn't appreciate those shows back then, but I do find myself now as an adult watching some of those things and enjoying picking apart scenes and trying to solve crimes, whether fictional or not, depending on what I'm watching. Share that or keep it to yourself. I thought maybe you would like some context on my life first, but without talking too much about my life or childhood, here's why I'm writing to you. First, I swore up and down when I was a kid that my room was haunted, and I hated sleeping in that room alone and or in the dark. I saw shadows moving. I could feel the presence of someone in the room. It felt like someone sitting on the edge of my bed after would pull up a cover over my head every single night, and I could just feel or hear the footsteps crossing my room. Number two, when I was 10 or 11, I was riding my bicycle and I noticed I was going too fast and was about to hit a squared off ledge built with logs that were cut into rectangles and were placed around the bottom and all the way to the top of this bank or hill that was adjacent to a playground from a school I went to as a kid and lived next door to as well. Well, I was going to hit the top log, and I was sure I was going to make me go airborne as I hit it. I was so afraid, but in those 5 seconds, I prayed and asked God to help me and keep me safe. And as soon as I got done praying, I hit that ledge and immediately fell backwards with no force, softly landing back on my hands. And as I looked down, I noticed a wood board under my hands laying across the grass, and it had nails sticking out of it between my fingers. And I not only avoided getting airborne, but I survived getting pierced as well. And I wasn't knocked back with force and felt like it was a natural thing and walked away from that feeling. So weird. Another time when I was in the same age, I was being called home for dinner. Remember those days? I was 2 houses down and playing in a field where a house once stood, and I heard her calling, so I started running home. And it suddenly started raining, or maybe that's why she was calling me home. But at any rate, I was sliding down a slope that had a brick wall at the end of it, and as soon as I slid into that while running down the slippery, wet ground, I went up in the air, and I came down, and I landed on both of my knees, and I thought it was going to be extremely painful. I winced as I hit the ground. When I got to the ground, I didn't feel anything. I used an exclamation point there because it didn't even feel like pillows. It didn't feel like anything at all. And I remember standing up and wiping myself off, feeling weird, just like I did before, but I shook it off and I ran home. Another weird story from my childhood is a time when I was playing in the same field 2 houses down from my house. And keep in mind, there's a somewhat big elementary school alongside the opposite side of the field adjacent to the 3 houses next to mine facing the school. And there was a small parking lot that served as the line between our houses. Okay, so I was in this field and I see this hot air balloon coming down as I look in the sky, and it makes its way down. A young couple pop their heads up and ask me if I wanted to have a fun balloon ride with them. And they keep trying to get me to come with them. Like they were begging me almost and wouldn't stop trying to ask me to come closer and telling me how fun it would be. And it was so weird and creepy. I ran home and never talked about it with anyone except my mom, but that wasn't until a year ago. It's something I completely forgot about because it was such a long time ago, and I was like 7 or 8 years old. The world is truly a scary place, and I can only imagine what would have happened had I taken a ride with them or even walked closer to them. Hey, Dave, have you ever heard of any weird abductions using hot air balloons in your entire life? I'm just curious because I've Googled it. I can't find anything. Is there nothing there because it never happened or because it was the perfect crime? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was an alien and cloaking device, and it was appearing as a balloon and two humans in order to get you to board of your own accord. And hot air balloon, maybe they thought that was the non-scary version of something that you might want to go on as a child. I don't know. Moving on, the letter continues. When I was 18 or 19, I had a dream that a YMCA that had a glass window or windows above the pool on the ceiling and one on the window shattered and fell in the pool. And the very next day, it actually reported on the news exactly what I dreamt the night before. Ever since then, I've been fascinated by mediums and empaths and the supernatural. From there, it grew into the fascination with cryptozoology and everything in between. Anyway, that's all I have to share today. Write and let me know if you would like any more stories or have any questions. Have a great day. Keep up the good work. I don't need to write, Josh. You listen to the show? Yes. Send us more stories. I like those. That was a lot of stories, so I'm okay when he's like, I have more. It wasn't just like one little tease and then, and I've got other creepy stories. You gave us quite a few little tales of the supernatural, so we'll accept. So please do reach out to us and tell us more. I mean, it's not a ghost penis story, but maybe you have one of those too.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah.
Has a ghost been captured on camera in Offaly? A team of paranormal investigators believe they captured a ghost on camera in an Offaly castle. A group from Paranormal Supernatural Investigation Ireland traveled to Colony Castle near Clogan. I'm tearing up these names. I know it. In recent days for an investigation. So if I'm messing up the words, please email Tim about it. Tim@darknessradio.com. Tell him how horribly I'm mentioning all these names. And just email Tim about it, Tim@darknessradio.com.
I got
or give him a call at 612.
Hey.
What?
It's your screw up, pal. I don't need to hear about it.
But I thought you'd love for people to tell you how I screw up the names for once, because you get it all the time.
I don't need to hear about it.
So, you could just, or stop by Tim's house over.
No. Hey. No? I don't need visitors. No.
I just thought you like to get that kind of validation that, hey, other people make mistakes too. And people should just, if they're not going to email you, Tim@darknessradio.com or call you at 612.
Hey. Email's fine.
Or stop at your house at 314. No?
Email's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just email, I guess. Yeah. Afterwards, they posted on social media that a black mass had been captured on the ground floor of a castle on Thursday night, August 12th. This was the picture that they shared with the alleged ghostly figure. And I'm taking a look at the picture, and I don't see a black mass. I don't know what they're talking about, Tim. Out of 10 pictures, this image is the only one photo, the group said, referring to the black mass. The area was very active for our SLS camera. A shadow person, also known as a shadow figure, shadow being, or black mass, is the perception of a patch of shadow as a living humanoid figure and interpreted as the presence of a spirit or other entity. The investigators claim the black mass to the left of the chair is a ghost and that the pink mass is the picture in a portal into the spirit world. Directly behind this wall in the photograph, there was a sentry guard room. It's all sealed up nowadays, and it's still there, if that makes any sense. We feel today it's a portal. Upon further examination, some of the pictures, we now think that there's more than just one portal. It seems that this is the only true, genuine Tudor castle in Ireland, has a few more. Who knows what other secrets this castle holds? So you can go take a look at this picture, because I don't see it. Maybe you will. Just go to darknessradio.com, click on the news tab, and scroll through, and you'll see all the images. And articles that we're talking about on today's program. Maybe you'll be able to identify that or see the ghost penis for yourself in the other picture. All right. Where are we off to next? Oh, we have a plantation poltergeist tale to share, Tim.
Good deal.
The Lancon family from Lafayette, Louisiana. Tim, that's Louisiana. Good old King Lou. Took a day tour of the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville this past Sunday, August 8th. Like most people who go on the tour, the Lancon family kept a sharp eye out on their surroundings to see if they noticed anything weird happening around them. As they went from room to room at the Myrtles Plantation tour, the tour guide gave them the history of the plantation, the house, the significant events that have taken place in each room. And of course, they learned about Chloe. According to myrtlesplantation.com, 10 murders have reportedly occurred in the plantation house, and the owners believe that at least 12 ghosts haunt the Myrtles Plantation. Of those 12 ghosts, a more well-known said to haunt the Myrtles Plantation are one-time owner Clark Woodruff's wife and two children, William Drew Winter and 3-year-old Kate Winter. And of course, the most famous of all is Chloe. Kate Winter, daughter William Drew Winter, tragically died at the Myrtle Plantation of typhoid fever at the tender age of just 3. The painting of Kate Winter hangs on the wall at the Myrtles plantation. Now, remember that face because you're going to see it again in a much different way. That's what this article promises. This past Sunday, Jamie Lankin, Glenn Lankin, and their family made the day trip to St. Francisville to take a tour of the Myrtles plantation. As they went through the rooms, like everyone does when they took the tour, they took pictures hoping to maybe snap a picture of some of the ghosts that are said to haunt the plantation. After the tour was over, everyone checked their pictures to see if they got lucky enough to capture anything paranormal. And at that time, nobody noticed anything in the pictures that they took. No ghosts, no Chloe, not a zilch, zero. Not being disappointed because it was certainly a fun family outing, the Lankons decided to head back home to Lafayette. After getting home, Jamie Lankin decided to take another look at the photos from the Myrtles plantation tour, and that's when he saw something in one of the photos she hadn't noticed before. Shown in the reflection of the mirror, all the way to the right is Jamie's son George taking a picture. A little left of center is Glenn Lankin in a white hat, and all the way to the left is Jamie Lankin peeking out from behind the wall. Lankin says they were the only people in the room when this picture was taken. Jamie, Glenn, George, and another man on the tour that you can see wearing the tan hat and green shirt looking at the mantle. What caught Jamie's eye was, upon further inspection, there appears to be someone else in the room who wasn't there when the photograph was taken. Holy shit, yeah. Wow, that's good. Wow, that's a good one. Even though the image gets blurry the more it's zoomed in, you can still see the resemblance between the ghostly image on the left of this portrait and the portrait of Kate Winter that they post on the right. Oh man, I'll give you that. I almost see two faces. I see one kind of looking off and then one facing the camera. Now, is it pixelization and matrixing? Pareidolia? Possibly, but it almost looks like it's wearing the same dress as the little girl in the photograph. And it's not like a reflection of the girl in the mirror. This is a 3D figure. I say it's floating because she's not a 7-foot tall little girl walking around the plantation. She appears to just be kind of hovering and floating in air. It's a creepy picture. Good story. The Myrtles plantation, of course, is known as America's most haunted house. Sure, it could all be a bunch of bull cooked up for media hype and tourism dollars, but if you've ever been there, you can tell from the minute you step out of your car, things are just not normal at the old plantation. So we have that article and those photographs up on our site. Go to darknessradio.com, click on the news tab, and you'll be able to find that and more. Go check it out for yourself.
You know what I see?
What?
I see it's Louisiana, not Louisiana.
Louisiana?
Yeah.
It's Louisiana.
It's not Louisiana like the people in Kentucky would say it. It's
Louisville?
It's not Louisville. It's not Louisiana. It's Louisiana and Louisville. There you go.
Maybe in your world, Tim, but whatever.
It was King Louis, not Louis.
A 13th century castle said to be the most haunted in the UK has been turned into a spooky staycation hotspot. Chillingham Castle offers a spine-chilling overnight experience where many have reported specter sightings and goings on. That's what the Express reports. The spooky stronghold is situated just an hour from the Newcastle upon Tyne and considered by many paranormal experts and ghost hunters as the #1 haunted castle in the UK. Guests can book overnight stays and test their nerves there. Chillingham has been owned by the same family since being fully fortified in 1344, meaning several long-term residents are said to haunt the chambers. Now, I have been there, Tim, and the people that run it are great, and they'll do little seances and table tipping, and my daughters were part of the table tipping ceremony, and they had a great time. It was fun and exciting and frightening for them.
That's cool.
Now, it's a true medieval fortress, but not much has changed over the past 700 years, with much of the Grade 1 listed building remaining the same since the Tudor period, including the internet. It's about as good as it was during the Tudor period, Tim, if I recall. Mm-hmm. Spooky activities that have been reported include a poltergeist of an injured soldier and a Spanish witch who curses those who dare steal from the castle. 8 self-catering apartments are available to book, with each room decorated with rare antics, and I think they mean antiques, not antics, and mysterious tales for guests to decide if the rumors are true. Couples looking for a quirky getaway can sleep in the guard room, which has its own entry from the Valley Wing courtyard and a small kitchen wing. Groups of 4 can select the Gray apartment, where former resident Lady Mary Berkeley is said to have died of heartbreak after hearing her husband cheated on her with her own sister. Private views of the medieval courtyard can also be seen from the comfort of the four-poster bed. The dairy apartment and coaching rooms is big enough to welcome 6 brave souls, and both promising a hopefully peaceful stay. Other famous sightings reported by guests include a blue boy whose skeleton wearing blue clothes is believed to float above the beds. Still not scared? Well, there is a torture room and dungeon you can enter at your own risk, where there's a stretching rack and a trap showing displays where the gruesome secrets of the castle were held. There's free access around the castle grounds, which includes a topiary garden, lakes, and unspoiled views of Northumberland countryside with each stay. There's even a beach just 20-minute drive from the grounds for a day out, should you want to go. It's a great place. If you have not been there, I would highly recommend it. And again, we do have a link up for it, so you can find more information if you go to the news tab at darknessradio.com. Our final 2 stories of the day are here. A military plane may have had to swerve to avoid a mysterious object, according to surveillance data. Late on July 30th, pilots of 2 separate aircrafts, one military and one commercial, reported seeing a mysterious green UFO vanish into the clouds over the Gulf of St. Lawrence on the Atlantic coast of Canada. According to the report posted on August 11th to the Canadian government's aviation incident database, both flights witnessed a bright green flying object that flew into a cloud and then simply disappeared. The object did not impact the operations of either flight, the report noted. One of the aircrafts that reported the sighting was a Canadian military plane flying from a base in Ontario to Cologne, Germany. The passenger flight was a KLM Royal Dutch Airlines plane flying from Boston to Amsterdam. Stefan Watkins, an aviation and shipping researcher, looked at transponder data from the 2 flights and saw that the military plane climbed about 1,000 feet, which is 300 meters in altitude at the time of the sighting, possibly to avoid the object or possibly even getting a better look at it. There's a chance the UFO could have been a meteor streaking through the sky. Yes, I know the UFO sighting would have been at an early stage of the Perseid meteor shower, Watkins added, but don't be a buzzkill. The Canadian Aviation Report tagged the incident with the catch-all label weather balloon meteor rocket UFO, not ruling out a space rock as a possible culprit. Unlike the U.S. Defense Department, Canada's Department of National Defense does not track UFO sightings. A department spokesperson told Vice, still, there is no shortage of civilian enthusiasts north of the border. In December 2019, a private collector donated more than 30,000 UFO-related documents to the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, including scores of documents on the Falcon Lake incident, Canada's most infamous UFO case. Meanwhile, in June of 2021, the Pentagon publicly released a long-awaited report on more than 140 documented UFO sightings by U.S. Navy pilots. The report concluded that most of the unidentified aerial phenomena reported probably do represent the physical objects. Though there is no evidence that alien visitors are behind any of these incidents. Of course, that's just the unclassified 9-page version of the report. Some of the report's juiciest details hide in a classified annex, which the public will never see, The Guardian reported. Still with their secrets. Still hiding things from us, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Our final story of the day is here. The boy ghost of the Columbia River in Kennewick, Washington. Have you ever heard the tale of the Finley ghost? Legend has it that hundreds of years ago, a boy, Adam, drowned in the mighty Columbia River off the banks of Finley, Washington, near the Tri-Cities of Kennewick, Pasco, Richland. The boy's family was so distraught after his drowning that his parents often lingered on the banks near where he drowned. The parents claimed that while talking to their son, the boy would answer them with loud bursts in the water. As time went on, the boy's parents eventually passed away. Finley locals would continue to visit the banks and talk to the spirit, otherwise known as the Finley ghost. Today, it's said that when you toss a rock into the Columbia River, the Finley ghost or spirit is awakened, letting everyone know of its presence. There's even a video you can watch on our page, so go check out the news. Jared and David have their Finley ghost encounter, and they share the video. I recently saw a post on social media site asking where the exact spot is to catch a glimpse of the ghost if you're brave enough to awaken it. The spot is located in Finley, up on the levee of U Street. Look for a bend in the road. The exact location is below in the article that we have on our site. So if you're interested in checking that out for yourself, it's simple enough. Just go to darknessradio.com, click on the news tab. You'll you'll find this story and all the others that we've talked about today on the program. Tomorrow, we're back with lumberjack creatures of the North Woods, Chad Lewis, our guest, when we return to the best in paranormal talk radio. And tomorrow night, our live manifestation of intention program with a Stanford professor. That's going to take place tomorrow night, live, 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. This is going to be one that people are going to talk about for a long time. Plus, we'll take your questions. We'd love for your interactions. We'll talk to you and show you more tomorrow on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.